What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/am I the Butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it massively helps out our channel. And I say it every time, but it really does. And yesterday we did have some memberships join our channel as well. We had Black Shadow on Patreon, then we also had Ronnie Sushiato. I'm not sure if I got your name right, probably didn't, probably butchered it, so I do apologize. And we also had EA over on YouTube as well. It's in the game. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from Reasonable Tennis 117. Am I the arsehole for throwing my sister-in-law's infertility in her and her husband's face? I'm going to be real with you guys on my second bottle of wine, so please excuse any grammar or spelling mistakes. My 26 female sister-in-law, 30 female, is infertile. It's literally her whole personality, and she, in my opinion, uses it to control us. I'll give you guys some context. She cried loudly all day at my wedding because we'd be having kids soon. She literally made sure she got more attention than me. Threw a full-on tantrum the whole way through all my brother-in-law's wedding events because she wanted his bride to disinvite her pregnant twin sister. None of us are allowed to make pregnancy, birth announcements, no newborn or pregnancy pics till she feels ready. No babies or pregnant women are allowed at family events or at my in-laws, or no mention of said baby or pregnancy. Apparently, you can't have PPD because people can't have kids. Honestly, I fucking can't take it anymore. I had to hide my pregnancy last year and tiptoe around her feelings. When I finally gave birth via emergency C-section, I was in hospital for a week. In that week, my father, who lives in a different country, died of a heart attack. Over restrictions, I wasn't allowed visitors, but my sister-in-law and mother-in-law made sure to screen down the phone because my sister posted a picture of my dad's last pic, which was him FaceTiming my son. We cut contact till December. Everything was okay till today. I went live on Facebook because my daughter 4 was teaching my son to say mama, and he finally said mama but kept giving my husband dirty looks when he asked him to say dad. I realised the minute the nasty comments, phone calls and texts started coming that I made a mistake, but at this stage, fuck her, we just blocked them. My sister-in-law, her husband and mother-in-law showed up at my house screaming about how insensitive I am, that I knew it would trigger her, etc. I was trying to calm everyone down until her husband called my kids crotch goblins. So I looked her straight in the eye and I told her I don't give a flying fuck she's infertile. That's her problem, not mine. And then I told her husband he probably can't have kids because she's a little bitch that can't afford IVF. I slammed the door in her face. Then my shocked husband told me he'd put the kids to bed and drank some wine. I've gotten so many messages from my sister-in-law's friends and cousins. I'm starting to think I went a bit far. Now, before I say anything, I feel for anyone who's infertile and, can't have children and things like that. Absolutely 100%. But I don't think you can excuse this behavior. Like you say, it sounds like it is her whole personality, that she's throwing tantrums at events where, pregnant women may be, and she's not allowing people, and the family's not allowing people to make baby announcements, pregnancy announcements. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I can't blame you for going no contact, as this woman clearly needs help, and I do feel sorry for her in that respect, but to turn up at someone's house screaming about insensitivity when you've already gone no contact with her, I can't say you're the arsehole because you went no contact with them. So for her to then turn up at your door and start screaming at you, what else are you meant to do? So although the comment was harsh, you went no contact, she decided to turn up at your door. I can't really blame you for it, to be quite honest. So, not the arsehole in this situation for me, but let's check out some of the comments to see what they say. And we'll start off with Goth Penguin saying, I really want to say everyone sucks here because your comment was cruel, but after everything you've been put through for years, they had it coming. I'm infertile, I would love to be able to have children, but I've never tried to control what the rest of the family does, so they have to cater to me. Not the arsehole. And Sunflower and Sprout says, these people showed up on your doorstep to yell at you. Good for you, not the arsehole. And Bluebell says, not the arsehole, I don't understand that everyone sucks here judgments at all. They showed up at your house to berate you for having a life and sharing it on social media. That is literally what social media is for. It's in the name. If it bothers her that other people can have children, she needs to delete her Facebook and stay off all social media. And Malphia says, not the arsehole, sounds like it was a long time coming. Your sister-in-law needs to seek professional help. It's perfectly understandable for a person battling fertility issues to have some moments and feelings, but this sounds well beyond normal. Your mother-in-law and others need to stop enabling this behavior also. And Chris says, not the arsehole. The problem with the whole situation is it never should have been allowed to go this far. She should never been given the power to tell someone when she is ready for someone to share their pregnancy announcements and baby pictures. They should not be stepping on eggshells with her and not being free to celebrate your own family. It's like you're expected to mute your joy for hers, and it isn't right. And this is from someone who is infertile and wasn't blessed with children. I treasured the children in my extended family and many of my friends' kids when they were growing up. Still do. Her sister-in-law ever went into counselling to deal with this? And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Do you think OP went too far in it or not? Do you think they was perfectly right to do what they did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story comes from Throwaway. Am I the arsehole for yelling at my husband after he told me to sleep on the bed he ruined? My husband, male 32, and I, female 26, both work. We used to work together on chores and cooking, but recently he has been doing pretty much nothing. Note, I'm pregnant and I feel sick all the time. Despite that I do all I can. He lost his pet, Bird, 2 months ago, and that's when he stopped doing anything in the apartment. I understand he's grieving, but I started thinking he's using the line, I'm grieving, to skip chores. He works 3 days a week. I work long hours, nurse, and every time I come home to take care of everything. I kept my mouth shut thinking he's depressed and in grief, but he does go out with friends, laughs on social media, plays board games and watches Netflix nightly, and is relaxed to the fullest. Last night I came home at 9 PM. He already had dinner and left dishes in the sink. I cleaned up, ate dinner and went to bed. He was already asleep when I walked in. The conflict started when I saw that my side of the bed was wet. I woke him up to ask him about the huge stain on my side of the bed. He told me he spilled milk while he was watching YouTube on my side of the bed and forgot to clean it up. I was stunned. I yelled at him and asked him if he was serious when he said he'd clean it up tomorrow and told me to sleep in it. I started calling him inconsiderate and quite frankly a user, since he keeps arguing that I'm cruel for not leaving him alone to grieve his beloved. I told him he didn't care that much about his pet since he's having fun and playing games. He looked at me shocked and asked if I was done with my lecture, and then he couldn't believe I questioned his love for his pet. Then went outside. We pretty much haven't talked since then. I slept on the mattress on the floor since the bed was soaked with the milk stain. He took the sheets to clean them up and I felt guilty for what I said to him. He seems hurt and acts as if he's shocked by what I said. Am I the arsehole here? Now, I think one thing that OP was wrong about saying is, he was able to play computer games and enjoy stuff with his friends and stuff, and so he's clearly not grieving kind of thing. When people still can enjoy things and grieve at the same time. We cover grief quite a lot on this channel, and we always say that people grieve in different ways and things like that. So we absolutely know people can grieve and they can still enjoy things at the same time. You don't have to be depressed all the time to be grieving. It's just not the way it works, right? But husband is clearly still taking the piss here. Whilst we do say people do grieve in different ways and all this kind of thing, you don't use your grief and treat people in shitty ways. That is just not acceptable. And it's clearly what husband is doing in this situation, making food, not considering to make wife any food, then going to bed and leaving stains on the floor, leaving dishes in the sink for her to clean up, and just doing nothing around the house anymore. Yes, that can be signs of grief, and from someone that's been through tons of it in the last couple of years, I would never ever consider treating any family member any differently and putting my grief onto them. It's just not acceptable. So no, don't enable this behavior at all, and it needs to be called out and talked about ASAP, because as I said, it's just not acceptable. And we'll start with infamous BuzzBuzzB saying, not the arsehole, run. And Rachel Shitonya says, not the arsehole, your husband is just searching for an excuse to exploit your kindness. You are a pregnant, hardworking woman. He is a lazy leech with no remorse. And Creative B says, not the arsehole. This is an indication of how much he's going to help you when baby arrives. You're exhausted now and working on the front line in a pandemic whilst pregnant. Any normal man would be telling you to put your feet up when you come home and doing as much as possible, especially when he only works 3 days a week. Please look after yourself and tell him you and LO need his help at the moment, and if he is struggling with his grief of his pet, he should see a therapist. He's really milking it. We lost our pet dog 2 months ago, and he was a big part of our family. He was especially attached to me and our middle child. We still miss him terribly, and the kids talk about him all the time, but we still go to work and look after our house. Please take it easier and don't let him guilt you, as you already have so much on your plate. Sending you internet hugs if you would like them. And Miss Sophia Brown says, not the arsehole, your husband is being manipulative. I know people throw the word gaslighting around, but this is an actual example of gaslighting. I'm sorry for his loss, but that doesn't mean he gets to ruin your happiness and comfort, especially as you're carrying his child. And Alert Potato says, not the arsehole, it's possible that he is both grieving and able to enjoy his friends, board games and Netflix. Everyone's grief looks different, and maybe he's using escapism to avoid his grief rather than facing it head on. It's possible for all that to be true, and for him to be a complete and total arsehole. Spilling milk is not something you deal with later, it is something you deal with the right fucking now. Spilling something on a mattress is not something you deal with later, it is something you deal with right the fuck now. He was so goddamn lazy that he left milk to soak into a mattress while watching YouTube videos, knowing that his pregnant wife who works full time on her feet would come home to nowhere to sleep. He doesn't give a fuck about you at all. He's so self-absorbed that click and play is more important to him whether or not you can rest after work. I don't see hope for this marriage without serious couples counselling. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and what would you do in it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for not writing my sister a reference for an adoption agency, as I have nothing nice to say? My sister and I got on fine growing up. Few issues, but they weren't anyone's fault. However, as adults, we've drifted apart, which was recently exasperated by the arrival of my first child, and the biggest argument we've ever had, which we still haven't fully settled. Info, I'm in a polyamorous relationship, closed quad. We intentionally conceived a child together. When we told my family about the baby, my sister called us selfish and irresponsible for intentionally creating a baby with 4 parents, myself and my partners. The only concern was that it's a poly relationship. One of my partners also had an older child he has limited custody of, as the child's mother twisted the truth about our relationship in court to reduce his custody. So this was already a sore spot. She and her husband are adopting, and she needs a reference. I work in a career where if she had my recommendation, it would look very impressive on her application. I doubt this, as it doesn't look impressive most other places, but she insists that I get the agency to sit up and take notice. She asked me if I'd be willing to put our issues aside and write her a reference. I told her that I could write a reference, but I doubt she'd like it if I have nothing nice to say about her right now. She said that felt a little harsh, and I said that was a shame, to which she responded by calling me a name I best not say on YouTube, and I said that she's more of that than I am. She said to call it if I decide to get over myself. Am I the arsehole? And in some parts of this one, I think there's a bit of missing information, so I went through like the poster's comments, and someone asked like, what did she disapprove of? How did she show her disapproval and how did you react? And OP replies, the nature of my relationship is there is 4 of us in a committed relationship who live together. She disapproved of having a child with 4 unmarried parents. She showed her disapproval by telling me that bringing a child into this relationship was irresponsible and selfish, as well as completely ignoring my entire pregnancy outside of that, and trying to encourage me to split my relationship in half. I go off with a bio dad and leave my other 2 parents alone. I told her to stay out of my life, out of my relationship, and out of my business. OP also goes on to say, my partners and I would have actually preferred to adopt, but couldn't due to the nature of our relationship. And my sister asked me to focus on my career when I wrote the reference, which is her way of asking me not to mention my personal life. So I'm genuinely unsure if being open about her disapproval would help or hinder her application. But if it makes things worse, then that would probably destroy what's left of our already strained relationship. So basically the gist of this one is that sister disapproves of having a baby within a polyamorous relationship. And after that initial argument, she now needs a reference which OP's refusing to give. So I don't know, let's check out some of the comments first to see what we get from those. And we'll start with Legendary Bumblebee saying, kinda tricky to comment, you've given limited info. But from what you've said, it sounds like you're not wanting to write a reference because of the problem you and her have. Not because you doubt her ability to be a good parent. In my opinion, that makes you a bit of an arse. This is her opportunity to have a family, and you're not helping because you are mad at her right now. If you're worried she won't be a good parent and your worries are valid, that's a different story, but from what you said, it doesn't sound like that this is the case. ETA, info has been added to the post that was not there when I posted, namely the reason behind the argument. This changes my argument and I completely understand why OP is upset about such comments and may not want to assist her sister. Not the arsehole. And KTG333 says, after seeing your reason for the argument in your comments, you're the arsehole. While the name calling was unnecessary, she just has a more traditional view of how a family should look. But does this impact her ability to raise a child? Have you seen any red flags when she is around her children? Anything that would suggest she'd be a terrible parent or incapable of raising a child? If not, then yes, you could put your differences aside and write a reference. It sounds like you are either letting your emotions affect your reasoning, or there is more to this story. Initially, I would have said there's no way of knowing without knowing more about your feud. And Blobfish Blue says, I disagree with the "you're the arsehole" comments. Not the arsehole. I read other comments saying that the sister has differing views on what a family should look like, which is glossing over what sounds an awful lot like bigotry. A traditional family isn't always a man and a woman, which according to the sister makes OP selfish for having a baby while in a poly relationship. Bottom line is OP doesn't want to write a reference, which doesn't make her an arsehole. Sis is an A because of her comments to OP about her relationship status. And poor Mark20 says, "You're the arsehole. My parents were poly. I was mocked all through school. Then they divorced and broke up. The fighting was insane. I developed complex PTSD because of it. Poly relationships are great for the partners, but are awful for the kids. And because you decided that my sister would be a good parent, I don't want her to have a kid, even though there are thousands of children who need homes because she called me out. That's why you're the arsehole." And one more from Sikio saying, "Is your sister abusive, irresponsible, would clearly make a bad parent? If so, I don't blame you, but if the only reason you choose not to write a recommendation is because you two have drifted apart, yes, you're the arsehole. Actually, I'd agree with your sister in calling you the bad name. This is her future. It would potentially take an unfortunate child out of the system and give them a loving family, and the only reason you don't want to help is because you don't hang out with her anymore. That's bad word material." I can't say that word, that one gets me in a lot of trouble. But now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and how would you deal with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story is from Young Shell. Am I the arsehole for not asking my daughter to do something stressful to appease my son? This is long, so I apologize in advance. My son S was in a terrible accident in another state. I went there and stayed until I made arrangements to bring him home where his family is, and I felt he would get the support he needs. He's out of the hospital and staying with my oldest son. I drive him to physical therapy and occupational therapy multiple times a week for hours at a time, working on my computer in my car, doing my best to keep my job. I also buy his food, clothing, anything he needs, and whenever I can I take care of last minute requests, but I've asked him to please plan ahead because I have 2 other adult kids living at home and a full-time job, etc. Today, he had a last minute request that I could not accommodate, picking him up at the gym. I asked my daughter D, who is deaf and is recovering from surgery, having dizziness, nausea, etc. D said sure. Then the request changed to include picking up a prescription. Again, D agreed. Then the request changed again to include picking up some things for him. I said I didn't think that D would want to go make a left-hand turn onto a busy street as she isn't feeling well, and it stresses her out on a good day. He'd lost it and became very abusive, saying that we're abandoning him and to forget it. D was already on her way by then and was at the pharmacy picking up his prescription. I asked why he couldn't tell us what to get and we would get it. He said I'm making a big deal out of it and I made him leave everything he has and now he has nothing, and I promised to take care of him and now I've abandoned him. He said so many hurtful, abusive things that he knew would hurt me. He attacked the way I parent and me as a person. By the end, I was a pile of tears. While Dee was picking up the prescription, he lifted home from the gym. So when she got there to pick him up, he was gone. Friday is one day I don't have to take him anywhere so I can focus on work. Now I can't focus on anything. I'm devastated. This is the first time he has acted like this since the accident, but it is by far the worst. Am I the arsehole for not asking my daughter to pick up S, then go back the way she came, making a left-hand turn onto a busy street to appease S? Oh dear, I know where this one's going to go straight away. So your daughter's just recovering from surgery herself and you're asking her to go out driving. That's instantly going to make you the arsehole. I mean, come on, I don't know how you didn't even see this in your post. Of course you're going to be the arsehole for this. But at the same time, I do have empathy towards this person. I mean, they sound like they're going through an incredibly stressful time with their daughter just going through surgery, their son going through everything they have. They're trying to do everything they can, working in their car to try and make everything work. It must be incredibly tough times right now, so I can see where mistakes are going to be made. And in some ways, I find this kind of similar to the grief story, you know. The son has gone through an incredibly stressful, life-changing moment, and yeah, their father and their family is rallying around to help them, which is all fantastic. But you can't use this traumatic event to treat your family like shit. It's just not on. And I do hope, like, the son is seeking some sort of therapy in the meantime as well, to realize, you know, family is rallying around to help you here. They're not the enemies. They're trying to help you. But the whole thing is just so incredibly hard. It's so heartbreaking to know there is this family dynamic going on. Sister's rallying around. Even though she's gone through surgery, she's still going out to try and help son. Father's working from his car, doing his very best. Son doesn't know what a good position he's in at the moment, and family needs to, have a good chat with him and say, look, we're doing our best for you here, and you need to help us out too. I mean, son is saying stuff like, you took me away from everything I had. What would his life be like if he was there? Would he be by himself? Because he wouldn't have much of a life there, would he? It's ones like this that get to me, especially like when families, are all coming together and they're trying to work, but hopefully they'll find some balance soon. But unwritten history says you're the arsehole for putting your daughter in a position to drive while recovering and having dizzy spells. That alone is dangerous. Don't let your son have so much power in your relationship that you're willing to put your other children in harm's way. He deserves nothing but minimal support required if he is under 18. If he is over 18, he can manage his own if that's his attitude he has towards his family, who aren't his servants. And Just the Bean says everyone sucks here, not your daughter. You shouldn't have even asked someone recovering from surgery who's still that symptomatic to run errands for a brother who obviously was more than capable of finding another way home. You shouldn't have brought her into this mess. Obviously your son is the arsehole for acting so entitled to not only your time, but also his siblings. I get that he's been through a trauma, and I'm sure he's still in great emotional turmoil about it, but that's no excuse to become abusive when someone won't go through extreme inconvenience to serve his every whim and desire. And Lily2404 says everyone sucks here. If your daughter is sick and having dizziness and nausea, you shouldn't have asked her to drive at all, especially if your son apparently can order a lift and go by himself. I understand that being picked up is more convenient, but it's not that he would have been stranded if nobody did it. Your son, on the other hand, is selfish and deliberately hurtful. You are his family, not his maid, and you're going out of your way to help him. It sounds like he is mad at the world because of what happened to him, which is totally understandable, but he shouldn't take it out on you. Is he going to therapy? Because it sounds like it would help him. And ASD says not the arsehole in quotes, saying that we're abandoning him and to forget it. Then says, sure, goodbye, then hang up the phone. The next time you talk to him, I will no longer be doing anything for you if you talk to me that way. Get it under control or go figure out your problems yourself. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of the situation and what would you do in it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. Live stream's coming back soon, by the way. It's been a couple of weeks, got lots of paperwork to catch up with and all that kind of stuff. You know how it is, it's all wild all the time. But yes, coming back very soon. Thank you for asking. Also, podcasts are coming back soon too. Just need to sort out these suppliers, it's doing my head in. But thank you so much for your love, support and time, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.